everyone and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the various miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. And I think this is the 100th Getting Stuff Painted. I'm pretty sure it is, if I'm remembering rightly. So I've done 100 of these since I started the channel, roughly, well, going on 4 years ago now, I think. Has it actually been that long? Good grief, that is a lot of models painted over the time period. And it is thanks to this series that, one, I get to ramble a little bit about miniature related stuff, and two, get to show off what I've been painting. It's encouraged me to increase the variety of what I'm painting. It encourages me to paint scenery and try different things. So I'm thankful for the series, and I hope it's inspired a lot of you as well to paint some of your piles of grey shame. Anyway, what we have to talk about today is we have some Battletech going from left to right. We have some Riot Quest, we have some Warcry / Age of Sigmar, and we have some Rumble Slam. The Rumble Slam turnbuckles are in the background here. I'll be honest, that's just because I needed somewhere to put them. I wasn't really intending on talking about them. You can't have them on the MDF ring if you're using one of the battle mats. There's not enough clearance for the board and mat here. You would have to extend this. If I'd known that ahead of time, I would have done that, but sadly I didn't. So they're just there because I need somewhere to shift them, because I've got Rumble Slams set up on the other side of this. So that's why those are there, but they are something I painted, just spray paints really, with a little bit of just bog standard contrast paint to give it some colour around the edges. They're nothing fancy at all, but they're just there. They are a thing that was done though. I do have one other thing to talk about, and it's consistent across every miniature here today, because it's actually also almost in the order in which I painted, because I did these first. I opened up a new bottle of non-oil, and I'm pretty sure it's the first of the new formula they're using for non-oil. They brought out different Agrat shade and non-oil back when they did the new wave of contrast paints. I'm pretty sure this is my first time using a pot, because I stocked up on the older ones when I heard not great things about the new ones. And I didn't realise, I think I still have a pot or two of the old stuff. I grabbed a pot and totally forgot the new non-oil was a thing. And this is my first experience with it, or maybe I just got a bad bottle. But what you're going to notice, presumably once I give you some close-ups here, consistently across all of these, is one, it's going to look like they've got a glossy finish, which is not my intention. I don't like glossy finishes really, but you're going to see it on most of them once you see them up close. Two, the non-oil pulls a bit more. Its viscosity isn't as nice, and it's sticky, and it catches in studio light in particular pretty badly. And I'm hoping it's just, I've got a bad bottle. I'm still going to have to use it, but I'm hoping it's just a bad bottle and that's not just what they're going with going forward, because it's not nearly as nice. And I've done my best to try and obfuscate it where possible. Like for the mechs, I did dry brushing on top afterwards to hide it a little bit, but for these two, for Riot Quest especially, you're going to see it pretty badly. For the robot, because he's silver, it blended fine. And then over here, you're going to see an overly shiny cactus and an overly shiny troll. But let's go by piece so I can show you close-ups and give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So I first noticed with Wolf's Dragoon, which is a mercenary company for Battletech, Alpha Strike or Classic, whichever you prefer. Apparently they're kind of like the poster boys for it a little bit, and have plot armor. I don't really know anything about them. I liked the box, I wanted the Annihilator, and I also wanted just to try a different paint scheme, and for the base as well, which I'm actually really happy with, doing a kind of snow planet or snow moon. But it was while I was doing these, I believe I started with the Rifleman and the Blackjack here, but then we also have a Timberwolf, an Annihilator, and an Archer. And it was in doing the, I'm pretty sure it was the Rifleman I did first, so I'm going to zoom in here more than I might normally, because I want you to see what I'm talking about. Where normally, with the old non-oil, or how it's supposed to be, yes, it would pull in places, that's partially the point, but it became so, it almost became like a thick slime, like just at the joint of the leg there's a pile of it. The studio light should be catching it in such a way that you can hopefully see it pooling. Normally it wouldn't reflect that much, and I think the 99 episodes prior to this is proof enough of that, because Nano is one of my go-tos. You don't see it as much on the silver. It blends super well with the silver, but when it comes to colour, adding a kind of almost gloss-like finish to the cockpit is perfectly fine, but to metal or skin, it just doesn't really work, and I don't like it at all. And I noticed on that, and I thought, oh, maybe I just applied it weird, or I hadn't shaken it enough, because it was a new pot that had been sitting for a while. So I really shook it up and I've been doing more of these, and it just doesn't look right. So I did use all the same colours for these, so I'll just show you the rest as I blather. But for Wolf's Dragoons, I used Black Templar contrast paint on top of Grey Seer, and then the red parts are Blood Angels Red, I believe I used. Actually no, I think it was Battle Red. Then I did a dry brushing of Necron Compound, which is just to add that kind of metallic shine. Lead Belcher Silver, and then, as I say, the non-oil over the top. It is, I think it's Mantis Warrior Green for their cockpit colours as well. There's a Timberwolf. I've got a third Timberwolf to paint. I want to paint one in my colours, so I've got a third one that I got from a blind box in an unboxing I did on the channel that I'm going to use for that. For the bases, actually I think, I remember the back of this one being shinier. Although honestly, looking at it in the camera window, it does look shinier than looking at it in real life. The Annihilator I think is pretty bad for catching the shine and just the recesses, but you'll see worse examples as we go. These being a dark colour and robots is kind of saving them a bit. But the bases is just that AK concrete, and then I used Briar Queen Chill, or whichever, if it's not that one, it's the one that's the blue tint. Briarheart, something like that. One of the new washes, the contrast paint type thingies that came out with the second wave, and it creates an absolutely fantastic just ice, cold ice snow-ish, or maybe like even you could maybe pass it off as some kind of like desert at midnight. But I really like how the bases for these turned out. Let me pull back a little bit more so it's easier for the camera to stay in focus while I'm blathering. And I also just used a mixture of Mantis Warrior Green and Talisar, or Frostheart, sorry, for their various lasers, and left the ACs alone because they're firing ballistics, not lasers. And then, did I show off the Blackjack? I can't remember if I don't think I did. I think I went straight to the Timberwolf, didn't I? The Blackjack was the other one I did at the same time as the Rifleman, so it was done on the same day, within the same hour, so I was noticing the same effects on him especially. And then we have the Archer finally here, and you'll be seeing these in the next Battletech. Time of me recording this, it isn't recorded, but it is going to be, and I think we're going to try out Alpha Strike on a Battletech Classic map. If it was suggested in a comment that, oh, if you want to try something a bit different, you can actually do that. You can play Alpha Strike on a Classic Hex map without all the complicated rules of Battletech Classic. So just as a bit of change of pace to see how it feels. That's probably going to be where this, I guess it is a star, even though I don't think they're directly affiliated with a clan, but there's 5 of them. This star will probably make their debut. So next we have 3 more characters slash heroes slash champions slash whatever from Riot Quest that will be making a debut on the channel probably at the tail end of January or into February, early February, because with these painted, I think that's enough models painted now, and all that's left is just a little bit of scenery, just a tiny bit of scenery just to add to it having a strong first showing. But it was when I was painting this lady, whose name I've forgotten because I just look at her and I see Zarya from Overwatch. It was when I was painting her as well that I really noticed the pooling of the null oil. You can definitely see it in this little thing on her knee. You can hopefully see it inside her rocket launcher. There is literally a pool that is catching light like it's slime, and if I run a brush over it, it feels sticky. And it shouldn't be like that. It's really bad. Now I will say, if you ignore the glare and the gloss, it actually looks nice. Like, I actually think it might even look better than old non-oil in that regard. The problem with it for me is the glare, the gloss, the shine, whatever you want to call it. I don't like it, and I wish it didn't do that. But the shading itself I think has been slightly improved. I think it's been toned back a little bit, and it kind of needed that. But my studio light is like just above me here on the right, and hopefully on camera it's showing you what I'm talking about, because otherwise I'm going to sound like a madman. Under this knee and above this knee thing here, this thing on her knee, let me see if I can zoom in, that's the worst part of it. That plus inside the cannon, but I don't know if it'll be able to focus, hopefully. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's catching the gleam. If I was to run a paintbrush across that, it wouldn't like stick like glue or anything, but you would feel that it's malleable and slimy. I don't know, it's so weird, and I really hope that it's just a bad bottle and this isn't how it's going to. Yeah, there we go. That's caught it right inside the barrel of the rocket launcher there. I really hope it isn't going to continue. But non-oil is expensive, so I'm going to have to use the bottle, even if it turns out it is just a bad mix that I happen to get. She's mostly Lead Belcher Silver with a little bit of Magus Purple and Volupus Pink. with also some Nazdrag Yellow on top of Leadbelcher Silver, and some Space Wolves Grey for the denim colour, which you'll also see later on a giant cactus man. So nothing much complicated about her at all. The wash was doing most of the work, so it was looking at it afterwards. I was like, oh, that doesn't look quite right. But if you're doing it on silver, as I discovered, we're going to talk about Weird Wendell last, because I literally just finished colouring his base before recording this, so it's probably still wet. But Destructitoron, or Destructo 3000 this guy's called, this is the same non-oil bottle but on top of Leadbelcher Silver, and the effect isn't nearly as bad for whatever reason. I was a lot more careful with the application of it because I didn't want it to pull too much. The only places I allowed it to pull were in the lower parts of these outer weapons here, because I wanted that effect of, like, you know, shadow casting downwards. So on that side it actually kind of worked out well. On this side it pulled a bit too much, and it has that weird slimy glare, unfortunately. Just general design of this guy I actually quite like a lot. He's very top heavy, and he's made of metal, so I've already accidentally tipped him forwards once and a hand snapped off, so I had to reapply it, or, you know, super glue it back on. If it was made of plastic it'd be perfect. It is a shame that he's made of metal, but the general design, I like it a lot. And colours wise, it's Leadbelcher Silver, Nazdrag Yellow and Talisar Blue, and then non-oil. That's literally it. And then Wildwood for the base, on top of the AK concrete terrain that I've been singing the praises of for almost months now. So Weird Wendell here, I'm going to be very careful with him, because as I say, I'm pretty sure his base will still be damp, the Wildwood applied on top of that. I think I went a bit too thick with the non-oil on him as well. I don't feel like I applied it thickly, but he's shinier than he should be. It looks like I've glossed him. You can definitely tell because the studio light's catching on the clumps of non-oil on his jeans. It's weird. Although he's weird in general, to be honest, because he's launching goblin things, naked goblin things, from a slingshot, and he's got a backpack full of them. He's actually a very fun miniature. He comes with 3D terrain to represent teleporters that are used in Riot Quest. That's the scenery I'm talking about. Once those are done, we'll be able to debut the game on the channel. Other colours, Ultramarine Blue for his jacket, Basilicanum Grey for his trousers, Gloom Flesh, and what did I use? I think I used Gazgreg's, whatever it's called, Sewer for his hair colour. He's got a little bit of a Leon S. Kennedy haircut going on there. And that is Magus Purple for the weird goblin thingies, with Imperial Fist Yellow for their eyes. And that's basically it. But also very shiny. Very, very shiny. So an honourable mention, as it were, for Age of Sigmar, and, well, for me it's Warcry, but Age of Sigmar technically. Yet another one of those bits of scenery. I have nothing to say about this other than, look ma, I did a thing. So that is another bit of scenery done for adding to the tables for future Warcry videos. But we do have a Necromancer for the vampires. I accidentally made him look more like a vampire than a Necromancer, I feel, and he should have a spiked frill thing around the back of his head here. For the life of me, I couldn't get it to sit right. I didn't like how it looked, so I settled on not using it and instead just kind of doing my own thing, which is rare. I usually try and match it up to the official paint job, but I decided to use a mixture of Flesh Terror Red, Black Templar, and that is Rattling Grime for his staff. But then I used Mantis Warrior Green to make it look like he's channeling necromantic magic, both on the skull he's holding and then also he's standing on one, which is hopefully going to show up as a loud truck gets ready to go past my window. The dog might bark. Prepare yourselves. I don't like having jump scares in my videos. With a little bit of the glow back here as well. And I actually really like how that turned out. That glow effect actually looks pretty nice to me. He's also got a sword hidden in there. You can't really tell that much. But despite making him look a bit too much like a vampire by going pure black, the official paint job had it kind of muddied robes, but they were black. But with a little bit of like muddying or like just showing their age. I didn't really have that effect. I chose to go with the magic green because consistently across the models I've been painting for Underworld and Warcry, I've been using that green to represent like living reanimated skeletons. So I've stuck with the theme here and honestly pretty happy with it. And that is the blue I never remember that I'm always using for all my undead and ghosts and such now. Storm something. I mentioned it in a previous part, but not much else to say about him besides that. It's a very fun looking miniature. I like how sinister he looks. So last but hopefully not least, we have some representation from Rumbleslam. You will have seen 3 out of 4 of these 3 here, on video already, but we have, this is Peyote Pete, who is very clearly based off a Cactuar from the Final Fantasy video games. Probably zoom in a little bit, hang on, there we go. So the sign on him is a wanted poster, but in the official paint job it does say free hugs on it, so I tried to write that. It didn't really turn out that clearly. But you'll notice his jeans are quite shiny, and his skin, I don't really know what else to, like skin I guess, is quite shiny. And again, that's the good old non oil at work there, unfortunately, or the new non oil, and it really pulled on an unfortunate location between his butts, his butt cheeks there, and it's horrible. I don't like it. The model itself I love, and the paint in general I think turned out okay. I like how bright and vibrant he is. He's part of like a Spanish or Mexican themed casino they added to Rumble Slam after the initial release of the game, that has like Day of the Dead type things and that sort of thing. So he fits in with them, and he's just a very fun, obvious reference to Final Fantasy games. Mantis Warrior Green is the main colour used here, with a little bit of Blood Angels Red for his armband, Space Wolves Grey for his pants. I think I used Imperial Fist Yellow for the start of whatever he's wearing, just the shirt there, and then tried to do the crisscross kind of tartan pattern using a brown. I don't remember which brown, but it's certainly a brown colour of some type. Probably the sewer one if I had to guess, just at a glance. Oh, and I used Skeletal Horde to add a little bit of definition there. He's also supposed to have a bunch of silver needles pointing there because he's a Cactuar. He literally has 10,000 needles in Rumble Slam as well. So they're kind of poking out of him there because when you hug him he kills you. And then I just put a little bit of black in the eyes and mouth socket to add the definition of a shadow there. Really fun. He's larger than you'd think he would be. There is large Cactuars in Final Fantasy games, but in general it's the kind of tiny ones that come up to your knee, but they went much larger for him. Then we have two bog standard orcs and their troll. The troll turned out real shiny. The orcs, I used the Hulk green that I was talking about. I think is Mantis Warrior. Oh, you know what? Mantis Warrior is this one. Striking Scorpion is the brighter green. I've been confusing the two. Yeah, the Striking Scorpion one is the brighter one, I think. This is Mantis Warrior, which is kind of like off green. That actually turned out much better, and the non-oil I felt actually added to this. It's like, oh, and it's Flesh Terror Red for like their unitards. In this case it did pull a lot, like there in the back and whatnot, but with these particular shades, for whatever reason, I feel like it added to them, the fact that it's kind of glossy. It helps that they're wrestlers, so they're probably oiled up anyway, but all these muscle lines, it almost gave it a comic book look with how much it's pulled in. So like this hand here in particular is very comic book like, and that wasn't on purpose, that's just that weird non-oil pulling weird. In this case though, taking good advantage of the sculpt and it giving it that kind of comic book look. It didn't happen so much with this guy. He's not flexing, so his muscle lines aren't super visible. You've got his abs though, and you can kind of see it there, but on his hands not really so much, but still good. You can see it more on the back, I guess, because of his back muscles and things like that. But yeah, that one turned out much better, the first one there that I showed you. And then finally we have a troll who is in a terror. I do not like the look of this guy at all. He looks like a kid's like one pure chunk of plastic when you see him like that. You can see why. Oh, one of my dog's hairs is stuck there. It's still stuck there. That will not do. It's still there. There we go. It wasn't stuck. It was just in the way. But it looks like a kid's toy like that. I used to have these big, like, huge chunks of plastic, and this reminds me of that. But if you look here, you do see that he is kneeling down. If he was standing to full height, he would be absolutely huge, which would be much cooler, but also much less practical as well, I feel. So that's why he's in this weird kneeling down pose, getting ready to punch somebody. From the side, oh, I feel a sneeze brewing. I might have to, one moment please. As I was saying, one sneeze later, it looks okay from that angle. It does look like he's just winding up to really sock a guy in the face. This side, yeah, no, not so much really, and not really from behind either. So this is a lot of Frostheart blue with the same Briar Queen chill, or whichever the blue tint one is I was talking about earlier for the mech bases, on the crystals on his back and hair, or quote unquote hair, and the same colour for his unitard as the two orcs there because they're part of the same team. But you will notice that he is particularly shiny and has lots of sticky areas where the non-oil has pulled in a manner in which the old non-oil did not. And I know I've been harping on about it, but it's been the running theme of everything I painted in the last 2 weeks, because that's when I opened the pot. 2 weeks ago I opened the pot, got started on this. I've been painting all these things. I've used it on all of them to some degree, so it's sticking in my mind, like, did I just get a bad pot, or is this now just what I've got to work with? I wouldn't say it looks terrible, and again, sometimes it works really well, like with that orc back there, but other times, especially if you're using studio lights, which I grant you is not a great many people, because not many people are recording themselves like this, but with studio light it really stands out more so. Actually, can I turn off the studio light to show you what I can't reach the switch from my sitting down position, unfortunately, so I can't show you what it looks like. You know, before we end, I kind of want to do that. If we have just like this view here, let's just pull back a little bit, get it in view, so you can see maybe the comparison of having a studio light shining down on the models, which does make the glare and gloss worse than me looking at it right now with my eyes. So let me stand up and show you if you can tell the difference. If I do this, the camera should adjust slightly, and obviously there's not enough light to have a nice view, but you should see that the shine is less obvious coming in from the direction of the studio light. And if I was to hold something up to camera here, obviously again the lighting isn't great, but it doesn't look as bad. It looks like there's obvious definition, but you can't quite tell the shine and how much it's pulled because the light isn't super bright catching on it. So in most cases, if you're not recording videos for YouTube, it's probably not going to matter, but for the purposes of what I do, it bugs me. But anyway, that is going to do it for another Getting Stuff Painted. Here's looking forward to 101 next time in 2 weeks. There'll probably be some Battletech. As I say, I want to paint up a Timberwolf like my mercenary company. There will be some Warcry, and ooh, what else? Some more Riot Quests, probably. Hopefully the teleporters, so I can get started on prepping to actually learn to play it. Probably some Rumble Slam as well, and if I can face doing yet another one of these, there's one more to go. Just one more, but I think it's the largest one. I've got started on it, but it's just, oh good, another fence with 2 spiky bits on it. So I'll be working up to that, but it's a fresh new year. Here's to however many of these I do a year, and painting lots of miniatures. I hope it encourages you to get your stuff painted as well, and do let me know your experiences with current new non-oil, or if it's possibly just that I've got a bad one. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching though. Go paint your stuff, get that pile of grey shame painted through, and I shall see you in roughly 2 weeks for another update. Enjoy the rest of your day, and ta-ta for now.